Hey yo. Oh Jake, you hanging out? Are you still here? I uh I was doing laundry and I overloaded the dryer a little bit, so I had to do a quick um reload, make sure it was all dry. But I am here for whoever's gonna come hang out. We'll see who all shows up. Whew. Hey, awesome. Happy to have you, bud. I'm going to be working on drawing a handful of crab people today. Some of the claw members. And it's just going to be a chill. Yeah, we're working on them crab people. Just going to be a more relaxed stream. I'm not going to be terribly entertaining, but if you want to hang out while I do a little bit of artwork, you're more than welcome to. Yo, Hunter Vernon, appreciate you stopping by as well. Hope everyone's, what are we on, Monday? Hope everyone's Monday is going well. I am ready for some crab people as well. You know, I've been super into like the different concepts, and I ended up working a little bit more like off screen and stuff on them, so I'm excited to finally be able to dive into them with some more people hanging out. And then, like I said, it's not going to be the most bombastic Tony screaming at the drawing. I'm just trying to have some lo-fi on in the background and hang out for at least a couple hours. We'll see what we get up to if we don't decide to pack it in a little bit early or what have you. I advertised this stream a little bit more than the first one, and I managed to figure a couple of different things out. So we'll see if some more people end up stopping by. And if not, I'm cool with just hanging out with a few people. It won't bother me none. Let me know if I'm too loud or the music's too loud. I haven't quite figured out how to master all of that perfectly yet, so. You can see just above the little chat box where y'all are, I have open like a little Pinterest board that I've been putting together for the crab people here. So I'm hoping that y'all can see that a little bit. And then when I find a shape and something I really want to dig into, I'll pull it up into its own little stream. But one of the things I didn't do a whole lot is use a lot of reference, so I'm trying to make up for lost time and get some more reference going on my artwork. I'm good, Jake. I'm good. I've been chilling. I've been home. I've been home since October, and I am starting to feel it. I was laid off early March for a couple of months, and at that point, like I felt it pretty hard. Just not so much financially. I mean, obviously, but in terms of just being home and like losing track of the days, losing track of like when I have to be up, and you know, that kind of stuff. Luckily, my fiance is. They have a really early body clock, so that keeps me going, gets me up early in the morning and in bed relatively early at night. Because if not for them, I'd probably be lost in terms of my sleep schedule. But now that I've been at home since October again, we're going on 2-3 months now, and I'm starting to lose my grip on the days of the week. And you know when and where stuff has to be. When I promoted the original stream, not this one, but the one I think earlier last week, I had promoted it as being at like 3 p.m. Pacific time, but I live in Florida, so I don't live on the West Coast. And I didn't even realize it until I literally sat down thinking that it was time for me to do the stream, and I saw all the different promotions and the posts that I had made listing it as Pacific time, and that was a pretty good indicator for me that I was off, off just a little bit. Hope you've been good. I know we haven't talked in a minute. I definitely want to do a joint stream at some point. I know you're over on Twitch, I think, but we've been talking about doing like a live choose your own something or other for a minute now. We need to get back in touch. Anybody else that's hanging out in the chat, thanks for coming to stop by. Kind of the first official stream. We had a softer launch sometime last week, but this one is going to be a little more thorough. We'll be live for more than an hour or so, so hopefully until about 7:30, 8 o'clock, depending on what's going on. Yeah, yeah, and I felt so silly about the mistake. It ended up not really mattering too much. You kind of have to promote that stuff a little bit earlier than not to catch some eyes and get some bodies on the stream. I think Hunter was hanging out with me for a little while though. That was cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like to do some kind of like a chat plays or something or other. I'm pretty quick with the old stylus in hand. And if it ends up being a little sillier than not, that's also always fun. Even if I can't get like the most serious of drawings in. But I've had these little, I guess they're not little, they're people-sized. But I've had these like crab people in my head for going on like a week now. I've been whew, excited to get back into doing some of them live. And I like working on Instagram live, I do. But like, no one wants to hang out on Instagram live. Because you can't do anything. You can't, you're stuck just looking at that on your phone. And when you exit out of it, you, there's nothing else to do. Um, so I'm trying to pull some people over that sometimes hang out in the Instagram live over to YouTube so that we can hang out here and they can have it on in the background a little bit. Hear my sultry voice yelling at them. My unshaven face looking at them. I didn't want to subject anybody to the old hairdo that I have under my hat, so I kind of threw my favorite beanie on and went at it. Zoom out a little bit. Oh, thanks, Hunter. I appreciate you sticking around, dude. I really do. It's cool seeing familiar names, familiar faces in and around. No, I appreciate that, Jake. Thank you so much, man. And then something that patrons know, because we worked on these guys for a little while. Not really visually, but we wrote a handful of stuff in the patron Discord about crab people a long ways back. That they have these really large like crab mounts that they kind of ride. So maybe we can see if we can get a couple of those in there. Yeah, hopefully some people come and stop by. You know, it's the first stream, so I'm keeping my expectations in check and appreciating anybody that does stop by. I know people are kind of just looking at the bottom of my dome, but whenever I do look up, hopefully you like what you see. I try to angle the camera down a little bit because it's where my iPad is. You know, and then as we go, the setup will get a little bit nicer, and I'll figure it out a little bit so that it's not so top dome heavy. And then with these streams, I don't want to spend like the whole stream working on a single piece. I want to kind of jump around to a handful of different like sketches and ideas. So if there ever comes a point where I'm kind of just like, I'm done with this, I'll just move on, and we'll add it to our pile for the day. Keep moving. like what we'll do here. Look at the whole stream is really good though. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I worked on it for a little while. Uh, I like that it's, you know, nice and clean, and over the past month or so I've kind of cleaned up the overall like Dire Quest look so that the palette's pretty limited, and I've kept all the shading pretty stark and all that kind of good stuff. We're gonna work on this sword a little bit. Is that like this sword? We're gonna pull it out and do a more refined look. But thank you. I'm enjoying it. It'll probably tweak and get changed over time, but I'm glad that it's working. And the camera angles are tough. I've been fidgeting with it like literally to the last possible second, and I'm happy with where it's at right now. So I'm not gonna mess with it. You know, it was I don't even know if I bought this webcam or if it was a gift or if I found it somewhere. Hopefully the quality is upholding it. I don't know. The mic quality is probably pretty shitty, but that's okay. I can live with that. You know, I have a bad habit of wanting like everything in terms of production value to be like professional or as expensive as possible prior to starting, instead of, you know, having there be a few months where my mic quality is kind of crappy, or, you know, go a couple weeks where I'm not really sure how the audio this or that, and you know, you kind of get yourself into a position where you never like start a project because you want it to be perfect on the first try, or you want it to be super high end. I get caught in that trap all the time. I'm trying to be better about it. So a lot of the times you just got to start. You just got to do it, and if the, you know, end product the first couple times around isn't superb, that's okay. I'm learning. I am learning. I also tried, I ended up finding like a couple different playlists and stuff on YouTube. Um, but the first time around, I had a stream on that was like a bunch of my buddies' music. I'm friends with a lot of musicians, and I had a bunch of their stuff playing like on Spotify, and YouTube was not happy about that after the first stream. Instagram doesn't like it either. So I ended up looking for a couple of different like lo-fi mixes, which are enjoyable. They're good background music so long as I keep yapping every so often. What you did, so many issues, yeah, and I hopefully I haven't run into too many issues. I did a handful of like test stream kind of things, and I have a pretty basic setup. I don't have a lot going on. It's just me, the window capture of the Pinterest board, and then I'm using like a really janky like screen mirroring thing that I found to get my iPad up on the desktop. I ran through like 2, 3, 4 different ones of them, and they all like really degrade the quality, which is I think is an issue with like AirPlay and screen mirroring in general for like Apple and like iOS devices. Not necessarily just because of the app that I'm using, but I think this one comes in pretty well, at least as well as I could possibly get it before I just said, fuck it, I'm going to throw it up, and that'll be the end of that. To anybody that's hanging out, what did you think of the post today on our on Dire Quest? We kind of hopped into, I guess, the last couple legs of Aaron's adventure. There's not a whole lot. Well, there's enough. We'll be playing for another handful of months, but we are entering kind of the final chapters here. I went and I changed up kind of the layout of how everything looks and the formatting, I guess. I kind of did away with all of the stats. We didn't really use them. We hadn't really done any like dice rolls in a while. Um, so I try to make it all super bare bones so I can focus on getting the artwork in and stuff like that. So if you were there, if you participated, let me know what you thought. Yeah, what's going on, Derek? Yeah, there are a handful of red objects. That was like an aspect of the project that I really enjoyed, like sneaking in there, was having a couple different things that were red and having them um, sit unannounced and have people point them out. At this point, though, because I've limited the palette to just black, the off-white, and the red, um, not every red object is going to be interactable. But what I want to do at this point, with objects that are kind of like red or a different color, is like highlight them as like important, or just kind of set the piece apart a little bit. Um, I had gotten a message after one of the polls I put up on my story that was asking me to do a couple more like story posts and decision posts that weren't super um, like heavy. Like they noticed that a lot of what I'd been working on like called for some like heavier decisions, and that they were all felt like they had too much weight attached to them. And I recognize that I had put together a handful of different decision posts that were like, it felt like the end of the world if you went left instead of right, and um, that's fun for a little while, but I didn't want every single post to feel like, you know, the last possible, most consequential decision, which is also just a good thing to keep in mind as a DM, I guess, is that sometimes it's just fun to have fun and not have every decision be completely game changing. And then every once in a while, I also want to throw in like decisions that are like easier to make. So even though they might have like bigger consequences, they're not. It can be pretty easy to be like, no, like this is the better option, which is kind of what I did today, where I was pretty sure, that people weren't gonna want to steal and try and run, but you never know. And there still were a handful that opted to want to be bandits and all that good stuff. Sometimes I kind of wish that we, had like an evil character. Like some DMs will run like evil campaigns where the characters are the villains. But I can almost always rely on the votes to always sway towards the more benevolent option, which is fun. But it'd also be kind of fun to not always do that. To have it be that a couple of times we do the wrong thing. It's so hard to pull one over on the audience because it's not the same as having 2 or 3 people at the table. Where you're only there for like a couple hours a week or so. It's a couple hundred people looking at the post and rereading everything over and over and over. Maybe next season. Yeah, maybe next season. Next season is going to be a little more gray, because right now we're very much like the hero, which is cool. Um, which is definitely cool. But the way I have the next season set up, definitely going to be a little bit more gray in terms of the player character that we're with. And there's a lot of like planning that's already kind of gone into the next season and where we'll be and what we'll be doing. I've been working with a buddy of mine on writing a bunch of that, and so I'm excited to kind of bring that together. All right, let's start working on some more actual crab people. really like giving them like these big like crab like helmets. So if I come back here, like look at this dude and this guy. Like what a crazy shape. Not that guy, this guy. That's a wild helmet. Let me blow it up a little bit for you. One of the things I'm going to have to get used to as we do more of these streams is that what might look big to me on my screen doesn't always look big to you guys. And I can't imagine that you want to look at this while I'm talking about what I'm drawing. So I kind of have to remember to blow it up a little bit when I start working on different parts of the canvas. But yeah, I definitely want to add some more gray decisions. And some of that comes down to planning and like how I set up the story. It's kind of a secret, but it's not a big secret, that a lot of the time with Dire Quest I'm kind of winging it. I know where the story's going, and I know kind of where we're off to next most of the time. But then there's times where I just throw it to the wind and I kind of see what you guys decide. Sometimes that can be a problem though. Like recently, like just before we kind of got back to, or actually while we were still at Tower Worm, dealing with the council and stuff like that, I had put myself in a position where I wasn't entirely sure how I was going to get our story, not necessarily back on track, because nothing happened that threw it so wildly off track that I felt lost, but I hadn't planned accordingly. So I kind of had to put a couple decisions that were more black and white, more serious in terms of their consequences, so that we could end up at a place that was more definite. And I think that's where we are now. Like right now for Aaron, I know where we're going. I know what's coming up. I've also kind of realized over the past, it's going to be 2 years in February. It'll be 2 years that I've been working on the project. But I've kind of realized over the past 2 years that not everything needs to be so up to chance, and have the audience like have everything be up to chance. I can railroad it a little bit, and you know, in the end, it's going to be better to have told like a cohesive story that makes sense and that feels good after 2 years of working on the project. Like, it's not going to make any sense to have it be so to the wind that my audience can kind of have it not make any sense anymore. So I've been trying to let myself steamroll it or railroad certain minor things so that the story gets back on track and that we can arrive at a destination that isn't like boring or feel not worthwhile. Hopefully that's not super felt. I don't think that it has been. Like my my subtle nudges into a direction that's going to make more sense narratively. I think they've been small and like subtle enough for it to not to feel like, you know, I'm hand-holding everything. Because I'm not, but I want to make sure that a story is told that isn't just Aaron zigzagging through different decisions that don't add up to anything. That would really be disappointing. I guess that's a better way to put it, is that I want all of the decisions to have added up to something in the end. Because I can understand like a disappointment if that ended up not being the case. Alright, now that I'm not really using that crab, let me pull up some of the people. It's the people. I keep coming back to this drawing a lot, or that's not a drawing, this image. And then part of what I want to do today too, while we're here for a few hours, is to figure out what the people are going to look like that Aaron's going to be interacting with. Because I like doing all these different concepts and sketches and stuff. The people that actually appear on the profile have to look cool, have to be different enough and look unique enough to stand out. Well, a lot of what I like about the designs that I get to do with the crab people is having like the hanging bits, like to have like the beads. I feel like it adds a lot of like extra cool detail to it. Going back to I guess the third season, not so much with Aaron because I kind of babbled about Aaron for a little while. Or you know what, we can talk about Aaron. We have time. Um, where do you, whoever's kind of still hanging out, where do you see Aaron's story kind of going from here? Because I have a roadmap in my head of some pretty like definite stuff that we're gonna hit, some maybe stuff that we're gonna hit. But I kind of want to know what you're thinking, where you're at. Okay, I know where I'm going to be pushing the story and hoping we end up. But it's always nice to hear some theories, some ideas. Maybe a better idea than I've had, and I get to steal it and just pretend like it was my idea the whole time. Maybe I'll have this person kind of sitting down. Let me get a... Actually, we can do sitting... See if that pulls anything up. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, I really dropped the ball on not using like reference earlier. Like I only just started like a month or two ago, and it just makes everything feel so much more like believable, and there's really no reason not to. Like even for when you're drawing things that don't exist or that aren't, you can't pull up like an exact image of, like pulling from real life imagery just ties everything together so much better than just kind of guesstimating, I guess. especially when it comes to like anatomy and having the people poses and all that kind of stuff feel real. And of course, like I don't have to follow it 100%. I can always tweak and add. And one of the things that I kind of want to get away from as I start, I don't know, the new year worth of artwork is having sketches not be so, well, sketches can be messy, but being able to clean them up in a way and structure the structure where everything is and not just kind of leave it a wreck. Make more deliberate lines, I guess, would be a better way to put that. But I do get to cheat sometimes because of the way that I've styled a lot of the artwork, I can just kind of black a bunch of stuff out in the shadow and not have to worry about it, which is, it's nice sometimes. Like that's what we're gonna do here, so they don't have to draw the other leg, it's just black it all out. Now, if it were going to be posted, I definitely spend more time making sure that I don't just black out legs, but I'm just trying to find a feel, a look. Ooh, not that way. Too much. Make sure this looks like a hand still. These guys have been a lot of fun to work on. Just because there's so much detail and like variation. Like I can take this same dude. Let me wrap this leg up here. But I can take this same dude, give him an entirely different helmet, which is what we'll do now. Give him a different headpiece. And I can just put like do variations on the headpiece like forever. Make sure you can still see it. Here, we'll make a duplicate. Group them up. Make them small. But if I come in, we can get rid of all this stuff. And then we give them like a really wide hat, a really wide headpiece. Or even one that's not like super symmetrical. Like maybe the other side of the piece broke off. Have the cutout be a little bit different. And then we're going to hang some more doodads and beads and goodies off the end here. If you're hanging out, you know, say what's up. Tell me how you're doing. Happy Monday. Hope it's been a safe one for you. Let me know what you think of the project. How your dog's doing? How your cat's doing? I want to know. I can babble and ramble for a long time about these guys, but if you have any questions about how the project works, what I do, suggestions, that's a lot of the reason why I wanted to do like live streams, is that I could field suggestions and ideas. So if you think maybe this would be cooler if they had a big crab mask, or whatever the case is, I'm super about it. That's what that's what I'm here for, and that's, hopefully what you're here for. Yo, Micah, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for coming to hang out. Hope you're doing good, staying healthy, staying safe. We got to get back in touch too. Some of the stuff that we were working on. All right, but see, like what I was talking about is that I can take just the headpiece, strip the shapes around a little bit, and then just do variations from there. We'll do a third one. And this is something that I don't do enough in my usual work, is I don't do enough like variations. I just kind of go with my first idea. But you can, if you sit with it for a little while, like if I pull up, where's another guy? Like look at this thing. So we kind of used, here, let's find a funky looking dude. Okay, cool. So we'll take something like one of these guys that are more round than some of the stuff that we have now. I think these are coconut crab, and I think I talked about this when I did the other stream. I think they look so weird and unsettling because their shapes are more like organic. They're more like rounded. Like this guy is more rounded, and I think because their shells are more rounded. Yeah. No, is my audio coming through choppy? Let me know. I don't know. Whoever's hanging out, I hope it's not choppy. I'm not getting any big red flags on my end, so um, let me know if it sounds good. I hope so. I hope I haven't been choppy this whole time. But yes, we do. We have to set up another meeting. We do. And then what we'll do is we'll have... One of the things I also have to remember with the streams is, as we're starting out with anything, that the audience grows. It's not going to be massive or very large in the first couple tries, and it's all about staying and coming back more consistently, which is what I want to do. I might not be the most talkative every single stream. Sometimes just coming to chill and to hang out, work on these concepts. And we probably won't work on the crabs all night. We'll end up swapping over to another drawing or two later on in the night here. And then if it turns out that 3 hours is too long, then we chop it up. Trial and error. So I think I'll take and I'll I had some bigger spikies on this guy. And then we gotta make sure it doesn't look like a big piece of poop. Big spirally piece of poop on his dome. What else is going on down here? Nothing good. Alright, let's go back. And back. Ooh, that's a cool shape. Alright. And then ain't no harm in mixing and matching. Looking a little more like a big old mushroom up top. I threw it in my Discord, but me and my fiance have been like powering through like season after season after season of 90 Day Fiance, like basically since the start of like quarantine last like March-ish. Like nonstop. Like it's garbage TV, but it's fun to watch. Um, so my question is like, you know, what do you guys have on? What do you have on that's keeping you powering through? Because I know at a certain point you kind of exhaust all the good stuff, and there's a lot of good stuff. We we don't watch just bad TV, I promise. But we do watch a lot of 90 Day. And there's definitely more than just there's like spin-offs and you know there's a lot of it to watch. Hulu definitely pulled through for us over during quarantine here. I'm feeling kind of spent on Mr. Shaman. We'll take him. We'll bundle him up. Let's get a more action-y pose, an actual warrior dude. Let me find something to get me going on that. This guy's cool, but I think we'll use him just for his pose, because we're not really going to take anything else. It's a cool design, but we'll probably just steal the pose here a little bit. Have his dome, arm back, tummy down, one leg out, two leg out. You know what? And then what we can do It's kind of like a big shell backdrop, like behind his dome. Shelter him from the sun a little bit. And then we'll back off of that guy because I don't want to pull so much from him that I kind of there we go, nice and big. Whoever's still hanging out, I appreciate you. As I get a little more, comfortable and accustomed to the streaming and all that goodness, I'll probably end up, being a little more quiet. I won't babble the entire time. Unless you got something to say, you got questions or whatever the case is. I don't intend for these streams to be the most crazy or bombastic, deal. It's really just intended to kind of hang out and do some sketching with a handful of people hanging out with me. I don't mind talking, but I'm not going to talk to myself. Forever, at least. I don't like hearing my voice that much. One of the things that I want to have be more of a staple for the claw people is like the concept of like shell mail, like chain mail but with shells. So I want to find like a visual shorthand that kind of reads really well in that way. And we can just have this be like a big rag that's kind of hanging off. And then a little plate kind of here. And then what I'm going to do is kind of have, let me mark some of this out a little bit better. We can have these bottom, like I guess there were shins. We can have them kind of like attached to these really large bits of claw, like crab shell. And then in that way, hey Leo, thanks for showing up, man. I like the idea that these guys have necklaces and trinkets. Yeah, exactly. So the general premise is these guys, the Claw faction, live out in the desert. But the desert used to be this really big lake that had a lot of like sea travel and boats going back and forth across it. But during the reclamation, all of the water in that lake was gone, like instantaneously. So a bunch of the boats like crashed and sank and all that kind of fun stuff. So the claw, the crab people use, you know, what they can find from these wrecks and from the corpses and the dead, you know, aquatic life from around to keep themselves going. Um, yeah, and so like that's why I like giving them all these different like trinkets and bits of gold and armor, but also using a lot of um, like crab shells and ropes and that kind of stuff. Leo, how's it going? It's going well. I'm relaxing. I'm enjoying myself tonight. Moving to the tube for a little bit. You know, I would like to do some more like live streaming. You know, I like hanging out with the people here, and you know, I want to do a little more consistently, so some people have a little bit of a schedule to come hang out on. You know, I was just saying that I don't plan on making them the most, you know, bombastic. Tony's not screaming at the camera for anything. It's really just coming to hang out and get a couple of concepts for the project sketched out and that kind of good stuff. So if that interests you, if you want to see some of the creative process behind what goes into Dire Quest, that's what I be doing. That's what it do. So for these bottom bits on his shins, I want it to be like big stompers, kind of like a big elephant foot, but it's made out of like crab claw, crab bones. I don't think crabs have bones, but they have big hard shelly bits. If they're gonna be big stompers, this is probably not the pose for him. If I straighten this one out a little bit. Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, because they have all these like hanging bits, it just makes the pieces so much more fun to draw because I can always throw in like some extra details and you know, there's never enough like ropes and little bits that I can toss on top. You know, and then I've kind of done myself a service by having their like apparel and what they wear be kind of open-ended and incorporate so many different uh, bits and pieces because I can jump back and forth between um, like stuff like this for shapes, and then like I'll never feel like my shapes are like going stale or like the ideas don't really run out because there's just so many different kinds of animals and stuff. And then in working on the claw people, the crab people, I I've realized that like there's more than just like Mr. Krabs is not the only kind of looking crab. There's a bajillion different kinds of crabs. You know, they're not all like orange and round with two huge claws. Some of them are tiny. Some of them are like more flesh looking. Some of them are really disgusting. But they make for like really cool reference pieces. And then some of them don't, and we don't use those. We don't talk about them. You do it, boy. I'm doing it. And I'm having a good time. I also noticed, I was talking to my fiance about it, that when I have um, like done lives in the past, at least on Instagram, that I stay more like focused and active on working on the piece as opposed to like if I'm just alone at home, I don't um, there's definitely not like a a 10-minute span where I don't put my pencil down to check my phone or to go through Instagram or like that kind of stuff. But like when I have the pressure of people watching, it keeps me going. It keeps my brain kind of in one space, which is good. And make sure that like I get work done. This guy has big stompers. And we can zoom in on his dome a little bit here. Maybe we do a big mask. And then, so originally, yeah, there are some really ugly, and that's funny because we were just looking at coconut crabs. Those are awful looking. My God. I mean, they're cool. They have cool shapes, and I've used them as reference a couple times. But coconut crabs are god awful. Like, look at this thing. Or this one's pretty bad too. No way. That's gross. That's fucking gross. But he looks cool. There's also like these guys. Look at this boy. How big. He's so big. The next little mock-up we do will incorporate this lobster somehow. But yeah. There we go. This guy's finally kind of coming together a little bit. There was a period where I wasn't so entirely sure, but he's getting there. What might help him too is if I go back in and kind of clean up some of his detailed bits. He's looking a little scratchy right now still. Some antennas? Let's add some antennas. What we'll do, um, hmm. There was an idea that I had, and we'll do it for, I don't know if that's how you spell antennas, but we'll do it for the next guy because I want to have big antennas that like come from like the mask that hang like down, have it be like a defining thing. I don't think this guy would, well, hmm. Let me get his hands in there just so he has hands. For right now, he'll just be saying hello. I'm gonna put a big old fancy crab weapon in his other hand when I get a second, but for right now, he's just gonna be saying what's up. What's up? So what we can do, I'll make a copy of them so I don't ruin them if I don't like it. But maybe we can have um, like two little, like couple horn bits that pop out of the mask. The mask looks great. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think these masks are pretty cool. And then we'll have two antenna that kind of come down. I gotta make them kind of thick. And then I gotta move some of these other lines around. I've thought a couple different times about like talking about like more art like theory stuff. Um, but then when I start thinking about it, I'm like, no, I dropped out of art school, so maybe I'm not the person to deliver that knowledge to anybody. Someone else is probably better equipped to talk about um, tangents and all that good stuff. Yeah, from behind the mask. If anything, we can also make the mask a little bit bigger so that it kind of flares out more, and we can actually pull it up so it's a bit taller. Something kind of like so. Do we like the antennas? I kind of like the antenna. But right now they kind of look more like big horns. Maybe I gotta make them a little more flowy. And not so like rigid. It is the Dire Quest, Matt. It is indeed. It is I. How are you doing? How are you doing, bud? How's everybody doing? I know there's a handful of people kind of hanging out right now. That's awesome. I appreciate it. I really do. Let me know how you're doing. If you have ideas, Leo threw a couple out there, or Ivan. I guess Ivan threw a couple out at me, and I'm here for them. That's a lot of the reason why I want to do these streams live because I'm always stuck with my brain, and sometimes it helps to have other brains giving me ideas as well. Your work is always incredible. I appreciate that, Matt. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Seeing the work in progress, yeah, and I like seeing it from other artists myself. So it's a lot of the reason why I think maybe some other people would want to take a look at it as well. Let's give him a. I kind of like the antenna that we gave him. Can erase this. I think I like the antenna. I think we might also, so if we do like a more close up, can y'all still see that? Yeah. So if we do like another mask boy. Right? Something like that? Yeah, that'll work for now. Is that we can have just a bunch of, because some of like the shrimp looking dudes. Like, not really this guy so much. Where are they? I have one of them saved. Like these guys. Like this boy. They have all these little like tendrils that pop out, and I think that's a look that we could pull from a little bit. Let me make them a little bit bigger for y'all. And then if anything, what we can do is give this guy more of like a hood that kind of borrows that shape. Okay. Something kind of like this. We're still finding him. We're still finding his shape. Sometimes these take a second to manifest in a way that looks decent. And then a good way to save a little bit of time too is just to have some of them be full on, like just black. So what I'm trying to do is give these give him a shape that I like. You know what I think it is too? Is I don't like his mask shape. Hi, puppy. In my little setup, I have Opal, my pup. I have her sleeping because that's what she's supposed to be doing. But now she's awake. You can also have these be a little more. Oh, you know what would be cool too? Even though we're kind of working on the tendrils a little bit, is if we throw some shells up under here. kind of like so. Let's bring these two together. And these two together. This guy's looking more like a scarecrow. I think a lot of that has to do with the hat. Yeah, come on, Jacob. Get it right. But what we're gonna do, because I don't want it to be scarecrow looking. That wasn't the goal. You're good. It's okay. Just don't do it again. And we'll be okay. Now he looks like he's got a bow on his head. No, no bow. I'll just give him a really spiky hat. The good thing about... See, damn it, Jake. I don't want it to be a scarecrow. That wasn't the plan. I was gonna say the good thing about these designs for the claw people, for the crab people, is that I can just make them spiky, and adding spikes to anything just makes them look cool. So if there's ever a point in the design where I'm not terribly happy with it, if I make it spiky, I make it look cool. So it's a really easy cheat. Don't like the way the head looks, make it spiky. And then you like the way it looks. It's just the way it works. Like, this hat is already infinitely better than where we were because it's spiky. Yeah, spikes are always cool. Why are you do this? Spikes are so cool that most of the main characters for Dire Quest have spikes all over the place. It's a trope that I am aware of, that I abuse, but I don't care because they look cool. Absolutely, get spikes. Once you have spikes, like, you're set. Because then you look like you fit in. People won't mess with you as much. Probably still a little bit. But like, by the nature of having a lot of spikes of any sort, you're already more intimidating than people who don't have spikes. Get them. I think my seashell jaw thing is making him the scarecrow that he is. So we're gonna backtrack on my seashell jaw thing. And then here's a good lesson that I have to keep reminding myself, is that just because you can make it all black doesn't mean that you should. So like, sometimes I'll just black out like a section of the drawing, and then I'm like, no, if I have that there, if I actually take the time to draw it, it'll make the project look better. So I'll do it. I'm enjoying having, you know, some people hanging out through the creative process. You know, typically most people, sit at home and do it alone, but it's just keeping me on my toes a little bit to keep me going. All right, I'm feeling done messing with Mr. Scarecrow. Maybe we'll come back to him sometime later in the stream. I want to get back to our little waving guy. I want to give him a big claw to be holding on to and clean him up a little bit first. So we're going to give our little stand-in dude a big scary looking claw. Has a big like weapon hammer. Like this guy. Yeah, let's give him a big crab hand. Good idea. I like watching. Cool to see you go through the prop. If you're enjoying, then I'm enjoying. And then what I'm gonna do, to whoever's still kind of hanging out here, starting this week, I already have it filmed. I have to do the voiceover still, but there's a post coming out Wednesday. That's going to be a hidden objects post, and I have the time lapse for the artwork for it. And I'm going to do probably like a 2-3 like 5-minute video tops where I kind of discuss like my thought process and what kind of goes into it. It's a very similar setup visually to what you're looking at now. My face won't be there. It'll be a little avatar Tony that I've taken the time to draw. So if you want to see more of the process and have it be a little more eloquent and better written, check that out. That'll be out Wednesday. That'll be the day that I put up that hidden objects post, and I'll be putting that video up simultaneously with it. I keep putting off doing the voiceover for it, so I guess I might as well hop to it. It's relaxing to see you drawing. Thank you, thank you. Kick back and relax. We'll be here for a little while still. So what I'd like to do as a tentative schedule, I guess, for these streams is I think on Mondays I kind of want to do a more like relaxed, like sketch stream where I kind of just work on some ideas and not really stuff that it might not get posted, it might not get used, but just to be working on something with you guys hanging out. And then I'd like to do some another probably 2 streams through the weekdays. So maybe Wednesday, Thursday, because I think Critical Role is on Fridays. Is it Fridays or Saturdays? I'm not sure. I can't keep up, but I don't want to do like an art stream the same day where a lot of my audience is going to be watching Critical Role do your thing. But maybe Wednesday, Thursdays I'll be doing more streams, and those ones I'll probably have a little bit more structure in terms of like what I'm trying to accomplish. Like I'll actually be working on posts that'll be going up on the page or on the on the profile, I guess, for Instagram. Love the crab hand. Yeah, I think this is a cool. I like this shape. It has like this cool like bump on the top of it that gives it like a really unique shape to it. And another one of the things, talking some more crab observations. Um, Not all crabs have like these really crazy spiky like claws. Some of them are just like smooth. They're just meant for like a good old snap, you know? So they don't have to be like the back end of the claw, like the arm I guess bit is generally pretty spiked up, but sometimes like the snapper bit is just kind of smooth. I think if we add another big bulge, big bump here, and then we can give his little elephant legs some more spikeage as well. I'm gonna work on this guy for a little bit because I feel like he has a lot of details that if I blow him up, he'll look good if we kind of spend some time detailing him. Maybe not. Oh, we can make him like that big. And then what we'll do is we'll probably do like a rough pass of like a second outline and kind of mark out some details that maybe we couldn't see. And then the third outline will probably be the more final version. That's generally how my workflow goes. Sometimes I'm able, like depending on what it is, I'm able to do just the one rough, and then I can head right into the final if it's something more simple. Or a lot of it comes down to like what I've drawn before, because a lot of the stuff for the project I draw like over and over again. It's like repeated, or I do a lot of it. Like Aaron, I really only need like Aaron or Worm or stuff like that. I really only need the one like rough sketch of them because the rest of their shapes are just kind of muscle memory at this point. You know, and then what also helps with these guys is keeping it imperfect. You know, because they're supposed to be using like shells and bones and that kind of stuff. There's no reason to make the lines super crisp or like evenly displaced. They should have a little bit of wiggle and wobble and a difference to them to kind of add to that vibe. And then another thing that I have to I guess adjust a little bit for streaming purposes is that I tend to like to bounce around a little bit in terms of where I'm working on the piece, but I think that it might be more enjoyable to watch it kind of uh, all flow instead of jumping around bit to bit. And it might make for a better time on my end. These lo-fi beats got slow. I don't want them to be this slow. Pick it up a little bit. Excuse me while I'm trying to find something a little more upbeat to keep me going. There we go. Okay, back to it. Shell it to me. Oh, do we have any resolutions? I know we're a couple days into the year, but anybody have any resolutions that they're trying to uphold for a little while? I personally did, just throwing it out there just because I happen to do so. I want to try and drink more water. I don't drink nearly enough water. I even have I installed it last year, but I have an app on my phone that tells me, go drink water. And I see it. I think it has like an auto thing every hour or so. I see it, I hear it go off, and then I don't do it. Oh, I should. You should. Yeah, not die. Please. Please don't die. Uh, 2020 was wild. I'm glad it's behind us, but there's a fair bit that followed us into 2021. It didn't really go anywhere. It's a shame. I'm not sure where everybody else is currently residing, but Florida, where I am, is on fire. And it, not literally, but I guess COVID speaking, COVID-wise, Florida is a shithole. Not a good place to be. I'm in northern Florida, so I'm a little bit further away from the nonsense, but I'm going to try and eat better, less sweets. That's a good one, too. It's funny, before I had moved in with my, fiance, a year ago now, we'd always joke that I ate like a fifth grader. Like I ate really shit food. But they eat pretty strict vegan diet, and I don't know. I feel better. I don't exercise as much as I should. I don't drink as much water as I maybe should, but my diet has been infinitely better, and it does. It makes a difference. It makes you feel more rested. It makes you feel ready to go do stuff. Not just having a vegan diet. You can obviously have a healthy diet and have it not be vegan, and you can have an unhealthy vegan diet. So it all comes down to what you got to do. I'm afraid 21 won't be much better. Florida people are crazy. Absolutely. Florida people are insane. I'm in northern Florida, but every time I see like videos or something of what's going down in southern Florida, I'm just like, man, they just make everybody look so bad, man. And South Florida is way more populated than North Florida, so it's a little more representative. It's not like I'm uh, I'm a Florida guy, but I'm not Florida man. Uh, Florida's crazy. It's truly wild, you know. I live in a college town myself, and there's even times here where I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? Oh God, we're coming up on a year that will have been like quarantining, and it's wild. Up until about October, I was still working in fast food, and like Jesus, it's a mess. Is it the water? It might be. You know what's funny? It's not a secret. I live in Tallahassee. Uh, Tallahassee water is the cleanest water in the state. We have like the most pure, filtered, whatever, like the tap water. The tap water is like the best in the state, and um, you can tell that it's better. But whatever is going on in southern Florida is rotting their brains out. It's crazy. It's really wild. No, I like living in Florida. Like me and my partner have discussed like leaving a number of times. We're not financially ready to do so, but if and when in the future we have the means to go and uh, start somewhere else. We've talked about it, but like I've done a fair bit of traveling. I used to go on tour with my buddy's band, um, and so I've seen like a fair bit of the country. And like honestly, I like Florida. It sounds really weird to say, but like Florida's cool. There's always a shit ton of stuff to do. I don't stay for the people. I mean, most of my family's here, but I don't stay for the people. But like Florida just has like a vibe to it, just the way it's built. The I don't know. I'm not a party goer. I don't care for the parties or the clubs. None of that interests me. Um, I think a lot of what it is just like the culture. Like Florida is so diverse. Um, like it truly, truly is. Southern Florida. I'll correct myself. Southern Florida is really diverse. It's beautiful. It's awesome. That's where I grew up. Northern Florida is just it's just a big racist South. It's all it is. It's really segregated. It sucks. I didn't realize it moving up here how segregated like Northern Florida really is. It's really it's noticeable if you grew up in a place that was really diverse, which I did. So coming here, I was like, damn, this is fucking crazy. Where is everybody? So that took some getting used to, and I still am getting used to it, honestly. 90% of the shocking news stories, Florida, that's true. Is it cheap? No, it's not cheap. Well, college towns are cheap. Orlando's a college town, kinda, and even Orlando's really not that cheap. It kind of depends on what you're looking for. Now, you can find somewhere cheap to live anywhere, but it kind of depends on if that's where you want to be and like raise a family, which is our goal. We want to have, you know, a little dude running around at some point. So we kind of have to decide like, oh, well, cheap doesn't always mean it's going to be the best place for a little person to be growing up in. Um, where we are right now, we're in Tallahassee, is relatively cheap. Like, you know, it's cheap for what it is. We don't live like in a luxury apartment, but we make do. We're happy. We've been here for a year now. It'll be 2 years in August, next August. So it all depends, because there's cheap parts of Florida, and there's really, I think that's anywhere though. It's not really a Florida thing to have cheap and expensive parts. There's definitely states though, like entire states that are just border, like bottom line, cheaper to be in than Florida. That's kind of the price that you pay for wanting to live somewhere that's so diverse, is that it's more expensive. It's just a nicer place to be. Yeah, growing up in California and then going to Wyoming, absolutely. It's been really it was jarring for the first little bit. At this point, I'm getting a little bit more accustomed to it. I don't want to get used to it though. I always want it to kind of bother me because it does, and it should. Um, but it took some getting used to. And that was one of the things that, like, when I was on tour, like seeing more of the country that I recognized is that it's not really just northern Florida that's like this. A lot of the country is like weirdly segregated and like not very ethnically diverse. And I mean, there's reasons for that. People do that on purpose, but it sucks. And I wish or I hope that in the future it kind of changes, and it is in some places it is changing to be a little more diverse. It just makes for a better like place. It just makes everything feel nicer and like a stronger community. And if nothing else, like if you're like a shitty racist person, I don't know, first fuck you, but second, like, don't you want to taste good food? Don't you want like good tasting like food? I do. Like, I don't know. Sorry, hamburgers and wings are tasty, but sometimes I want like really, really good Indian food. I just do. I don't know. If nothing else, right? Like people should want tasty food. I think that's true. I think that they don't know any better. I think that they don't know that there's like good multicultural food that's not just made by white people. White people can cook. Not all white people can cook. And so when I think when you're, in the middle of nowhere, it's not your fault, but you don't know that like there's good food to be had from other people. There just is. I was fortunate enough with, where I grew up that I was exposed to it, and I have an itch for tasty food. I used to work to kind of bring some levity to the conversation. I wish I could be in a more diverse area. See that, but that's what there is. There's so much food. There's so many different kinds of food. I think a lot of it comes down to like, I don't know, because like in a college town where I am, there's always a bajillion different places for good food because kids want to eat. But a lot of it, at least where I am, it's all like different kinds of like burgers. Burgers are good. Mediterranean food is delicious. It just is. It's amazing. We've been trying to find a good Mediterranean place here in Tallahassee. We're on the hunt. We found a really good Venezuelan place. My partner's Venezuelan. We found a really, really good Venezuelan place run by like people from Venezuela, immigrants. Delicious. Amazing. It tastes delicious. There's a new Indian place that opened up. What's it called? It's called Nonetheless. Perfect pun. Delicious. It was quick, and the way that they're marketing it is to be like cheap in terms of price, a cheap like college kid food and fast. So we visited there a couple months back when they had first opened, and it was good. We got so much food for like $10. I guess if one thing that I can give credit to for like living like in a college town like I do is that, excuse me, there are a lot of places where you can get a lot of food for cheap. There's none here. Maybe one of you guys is nearby one, but there's a place that I found during tours called Cookout. They're more. There's some in Georgia. I don't know how far up or out they go, but I know that whenever we'd hit Georgia, we always hit a Cookout. Cookouts they give you like there's a big menu. I can't list everything right now, but it'd be so what you could technically get is like a big burger, a big milkshake, a second big burger, and a side, $5. That's it. A milkshake, 2 burgers, and fries, and that's not even all they offer. You can get like a burger and tenders. You can get a burger and a hot dog. You can get a hot dog and a second hot dog. Like, unless I'm wrong, someone correct me, but look up Cookout's menu. It's amazing. for $5, and it was good. It was good food, and there's none in Tallahassee. That's one of the things that I'm looking for, that I'd like to have nearby. Um, there was a place called Loco's Tacos that got shut down in the middle of quarantine. I don't think they're going to be able to reopen. It sucks. So many good places in Tally, because they were smaller owned and they weren't like chains, got shut down like because of COVID. It fucking sucked. And a lot of that, it came down to the students not staying home. There have been so many parties and shit, and just, it was so aggravating because we lost a lot of good small businesses in Tallahassee that were thriving prior and probably could have made it through, but nobody stayed home. There were actively like parties and events, and it's really a shame. But I wanted to try and bring a little bit of levity to the conversation, so I'm not just, upset about racist people and stupid people. I used to work prior to moving a year ago. Is it 2 years ago? I don't even remember how long ago we got here. But prior to me coming up to Tallahassee, I worked 2 jobs. I worked at an elementary school as a counselor, an after-school counselor. That was a lot of fun. And a summer camp counselor. But then I also worked at one of those places where you can drink wine and someone shows you how to paint. I worked at Painting with a Twist. And I was the dude that would be up on stage, like dancing around and walking you through a painting. Have you guys ever been to one of those? Some places are called like Paint and Sip or something similar. But if you've ever been to one, I think they're a lot of fun. It wasn't really a job that I loved. I enjoyed it. It was fun sometimes. Uh, had a coworker that did that for years. Yeah, for New Year's. It's yeah, they do a lot of marketing on Facebook. Um, it wasn't a job that I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm definitely more of an introverted person, and that job required me to be more lively. I also can't dance at all. I suck at dancing, and a lot of, at least where I was, the facility that I was working at, or I guess the store, um, required me to be like a more extroverted, dancey person, and that's just not me. Um, Jake's sister has done it. They're a good time. I never got to go do one and not. I never got to do it as a customer. I was always like an instructor doing them, and it was cool. A long way to say that doing that, people would have birthday parties or wedding showers or baby showers or stuff like that. And they would come and they would host their event there. And then we would do like a painting that was kind of themed around that. Like there'd be like a baby or like a bride in a dress. And when people would come and do those things, they would bring food. Now, a lot of the times people would bring like store-bought food. No harm in that. It can be really tasty. Um, but there was one family, and they came a lot, and it's expensive. It's an expensive like endeavor or an expensive like outing. It can be at least. But there was one family that came often for birthday parties and for wedding showers and engagements, and I think they did like a gender reveal one time. Um, they brought the most delicious Islander food. I don't know specifically where they were coming from, but that family cooked the most delicious island food. Like it was the most delicious like jerk chicken wings, seafood rice. I couldn't get over it. And like they kind of caught on because they would offer it to the instructors. They were really, really sweet. They were really kind people. And they would offer it to us from time to time when they'd come. and they kind of caught on that we loved it. So every time that they would come, they would purposefully bring extra to give us like a huge platter. And I was, whenever I saw that woman come through the door, I was so happy because I knew that I was going to be eating some really, really good food that night. Um, and then there were parties where they would bring um, like cakes, and sometimes they wouldn't finish their cake. They'd have like this big platter, expecting everybody to like demolish the cake, and it would still sit there. And so rather than like wanting to take it home or throw it out, they would just offer it to us, like at the studio. And so then we'd have like this big old cake. Some cakes were good, some cakes aren't good. Uh, but it was a cool place to work. It was definitely the most unique job, I guess, aside from the work that I do with Dire Quest, that I've ever done. It's virtual now. Yeah, thank God. I know that the studio that I used to work at like weren't virtual for a long time, and I had some coworkers that I kept up with that still work there, and they're both gone now. They don't work there anymore. But they were like getting frustrated because they would do like a lot of weird things that wouldn't make any sense, specifically pertaining to the pandemic. And I can only imagine the frustration. Um, you know, thank God for anybody working on the front lines right now, like first responders and people that are work in hospitals, nurses and doctors, and especially in Florida, because there's people in Florida that are not making it easy on purpose. On purpose, they're purposefully going out and just expecting to be taken care of, and it's really frustrating. It truly is. But you know, food specifically, like I was saying, my partner, they eat a really strict. Well, the diet itself isn't strict, but they eat a really strict vegan diet in terms of what they can eat. Um, and because like we shop together, I just eat vegan at home, and if I want whatever I want when I'm out, that's kind of the shtick. I've been trying to incorporate more like vegan stuff when we go out to eat or when we order, but um, I didn't know how to cook at all before we moved in together. And like Izzy would always cook like the food, and they're an amazing chef. Like it's delicious. But they got tired of being the only person to cook, so they started showing me how to do a couple different of the recipes that we kind of put together. And we make this like yellow curry with cauliflower and broccoli and onion. And if we have carrots, if we have zucchini, we'll chop up zucchini and we'll throw that in there. Um, if we're feeling like waiting a little while, we'll put it over rice. We usually what we do is we'll buy like the big boxes worth of the ramen noodles that like they come in like a 12 pack, I think, or 15 or something like that. Um, and we won't use the chicken seasoning. We'll just use the noodles themselves because they're cheap. They're just cheap noodles. And we've been making a really, really tasty yellow curry for the better part of a year now. And I finally like kind of picked up on how to do it, and now I make it all the time. I'm getting damn sick of the yellow curry, but it's tasty. How are we liking our crab guy so far? I've kind of been droning for a little bit, just talking, talking, talking. I want to fix this arm over here, have it be doing something. I want to get more in the habit of having the characters and the things that I draw be a little more um, active rather than just having them just like posed, have their hands or their, have them be busy doing something. I think it adds a little bit to their shtick, their appeal. Good, good, perfect. Pull up. Because I'm starting to do some of these details where stuff's hanging off, I want to pull up some more reference that'll help me like add some bits and bobs to hang off of our dude. Like, I like this image. It has a lot of good stuff going on. So does this guy. We'll use him later too. We'll save him. Here, before I start lining this arm, let's give him something. What can he be holding? Maybe like a flask? He's probably a thirsty boy. You tell me if you have ideas. What's he doing with this arm here? Because I think we can leave him with just the one big crab arm, but I want to have this other arm be a little more active, be doing something. We can even just give him no arm. And just give it a bunch of spikies. It's kind of a cop-out, a cheat answer, but I don't entirely mind just giving him a little stub. What we'll have to do, because it's going to throw the balance off if I don't have something kind of poking out over here. Something more, yeah. And then, of course, what we'll do is dress it up with a bunch of hanging bits. Kind of like so. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I'm glad I'm able to provide a little bit of entertainment, have it be common, and just have my voice kind of going on in the background a little bit. been going for almost two. There we go, 2 hours on the dot. I'm going for 2 hours now. I went by a lot faster than I thought. When I initially started, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to fill up 2 hours worth of time, but it goes quick. So that means it's what, probably close to 7 now? Yeah. So we'll keep this going for probably another hour, half hour or so. I have to clean up the house a little bit before my fiance gets back from work, so around 8 o'clock is going to be my hard limit. But this won't be the last stream that we do. You know, like I said, I appreciate y'all stopping by, and I'm going to start putting together a more, like a reoccurring schedule where I'm actually here on the days that I set up the schedule to be on. But Mondays I'll definitely stop by, because I also post the Dire Quest stuff on Mondays. Oh, also the second adventure that just started up for patrons. If you enjoy Dire Quest and the stuff that we do with Aaron, and you want to participate in the second adventure, just, you know, $1 a month on Patreon, and you have a whole second adventure to participate in. We just started that one up today with its first big decision. $1 patrons also have access to a digital copy of the Dire Zines that I put together. They're kind of like collections of all of the artwork and puzzles and stuff from the month. So if you want, you know, some more puzzles and doodads to look at from the project, or you just enjoy the artwork, or you just want to support me, you can do that. Patreon.com/DireQuest. I'm going to find a way to better attach this bit here. We kind of have like a transitional panel. We'll keep it from looking like it just kind of jammed in there. Go, and then we can start working our way down. We can finish up our claw too while we're sitting here staring at it. If you're still hanging out, what would you want to see from, I guess, future streams? I said earlier that I kind of want to do Mondays as like the really chill, like sketch streams, and, you know, pick a concept and kind of come up with a couple different, you know, sketches and ideas. But I think later in the week I want to do a more structured thing where it's something that'll actually be posted, and there's like a goal to kind of work towards in terms of the artwork that's being produced. Or do you enjoy just kind of chilling and chatting and watching a sketch unfold? We can make this find a way to make this claw look a little more the way I was intending it to. I don't know what it is. Like, I really enjoy like Animal Crossing music. I mean, I know objectively that it's good, but like I've played Animal Crossing like a long time. Um, I played, you know, on GameCube and then on DS. The only one that I didn't, I guess there's two, because I didn't play a lot of the one that came out for Wii, and I didn't play a lot of the 3DS. I played a fair bit, I guess, for 3DS. But like the music has always got me. And there was a period where like I really wanted to hear like remixes of the songs, because you know I enjoy them, but some of them aren't super upbeat. Like for like streaming or like general like background music. And I don't know if I wasn't typing in like the right search terms or what it was, but I just couldn't find anything. And then maybe like a year ago, like it all of a sudden like there's just a bunch of it. There's just a bunch to look at and choose from. And so I'm hoping that the stream won't yell at me when I log off about having the remixes on. I guess we'll see, because sometimes they're really weird about copyright stuff. You're never really sure what's going to catch and what won't. I mean, I guess there's some ways you can be super sure, but gray areas are hard to parcel out. Oops, that's not what I wanted. It's funny today with the decision for Aaron. Like, I knew most people were probably gonna go with A. Like, there's times where I make decision posts and I'm like, there's not gonna be that much of a uh, like back and forth. Like, people are gonna be pretty much set on picking, you know, either option. But there's times where like it's so overwhelming me just the one option that I kind of feel bad because I'm like, oh, I thought the other option was a good one. I didn't, you know, I didn't think people weren't going to choose it at all. So like, I don't. How many comments are there? How many votes for today? 92, 93. And I think of those 93, I have maybe three of them aren't A. So 90 of them are A and three of them are B. It makes my job easy because now I know uh, where we're gonna go. Like I can start planning for the next post already. But it makes me kind of like, oh well. I hope no one feels like the choice was easy to the point of it not being worth voting on. All right. And then another thing that we can do coming back through here, to interrupt myself a little bit, is we can add some more detail by just coming back into the shadows a little bit. What have you missed? Oh, we kept working on our claw boy. We ended up chopping off his one arm, so he no longer has the one arm. The other arm is a big claw. This arm over here is a spiky stump. And we're working our way down. The legs I didn't have nearly as planned out as the top area, so I'm kind of winging it in terms of the line work that I'm putting into them. I hope it's not terribly apparent, but I'm sure it is. I think his knee would probably be somewhere there. And I could probably go back in and add some more. We come back up here in a minute. Seems like a short sword. Yeah, I think that'd probably be, if anything, we can make it a little bit longer. Kind of like so. Nice. Yeah. I like his arm setup now. Because before I had the arm sitting there, like just kind of dangling. And like I said, I kind of want to get away from just leaving my characters or the poses that I do like as stiff as I normally leave them, or just not having them be like active or dynamic. I feel like that can add a lot to, you know, the piece itself. And I think because they're so big, they'll probably have like big like cushions or guards that kind of come up from the side to help ease the leg in there and keep it more secure, as opposed to like just kind of stuffing it down. And I'll make sure that I delineate it a little bit. There you go. I'm a fan of his big stompers. And I think what we can do to kind of further sell the weight of him a little bit would be to broaden this shape a little bit in terms of having his legs come across. Ooh, yeah, well, okay, let's do that. That's a good idea. We'll add some barnacles up on his stomper. There you go. I kind of like that, those shapes for the, I guess what would come down into the boot. There you go. It just kind of lets me get away with not hyper doing up his legs. And I feel like if we extend this out, this will help better sell the shape. So then if we kind of rinse and repeat over here, this will look something kind of like so. And then for the sake of my sanity, my time, I'm not gonna, it's gonna black out this other leg, or at least most of it. And once I kind of wrap on the line work for this dude, I'm gonna go ahead and call it. We'll kind of go over everything that we got up to today. But I'll be coming up on the end of this dude's little line work here shortly. And I'd like them, so I think we'll go ahead and we'll probably end up posting posting them to the gram. And then again, we can get away with having some of this be so dark by adding in some details with just erasing some of that black. And then we have a little pack that sits off the back here. And then I'm having to do some more like reworking than I had to do for the top bit. Just because I'm not as familiar with like some of the shapes and the muscle memory, I guess, of drawing like legs and pants and that sort of thing. Like especially for the project, I draw a lot of like torsos and heads and that kind of thing, but I always am so lucky to not have to draw the legs until I need to, and then I can't. So maybe that's a goal that we can set, or I can set for myself, is to not shy away from drawing legs and feet on stream. As the longer I don't do it, the longer I don't know how. Come back to the top for a second. And then right now I'm just kind of going back through and cleaning up some of the lines that are left a little more jagged and making sure that he looks like the same level of like detail and care like all over. Like if he looks all scratchy, that's fine. But if like some of him is more polished and other parts are more scratchy, the polished bits stand out and so do the scratchy bits, and they both kind of are jarring to see together. And then I'm going to go through and just add a bunch of tiny little details, little fuzzy bits to some of the parts that are cloth. Add some more hanging doodads where I can. Have like a knife. I don't feel. Now I'm not gonna try and squeeze a knife in there, but I appreciate you. The barnacles, yes, thank you. If I had maybe made him like bigger, or if I had like bigger in terms of the resolution. If I had made him like a little bit larger or maybe a different pose, I'd try and throw a knife in there. But we're almost done with him, and I don't want to try and squeeze a knife in last minute. But there's going to be plenty of time in the future to throw some fancy stuff on our boys. Come through. Yeah, you know, I didn't even think about it. He probably wouldn't be able to use a knife with the way his hands are currently positioned. All right, let's see if we can't throw him on a red background. Did we do our line work clean enough? No, there's a little bit right here. So we'll take them. There we go. You can move them over a little bit so he's centered for you guys. There he is. We did that together. Go through and clean up extra bits that don't need color. Give yourselves a nice pat on the back for sticking around. And of course, whenever I add the outline, like I said, the color, I kind of realize, oh, this can be thicker. So then I go through to better set apart some of these shapes. Like in here. It's looking awesome. Thank you. I was given a lot of really good ideas. It sweetly helps. So what I'm doing now, right before I kind of call him a done deal, is I'm making some of the outline a little more thick in certain areas so that they kind of stand out a little bit more and that they appear closer than further away. There's also parts that overlap a little bit, and if I make the part that's on top with a thicker outline, it reads better as being on top. Also taking an opportunity to add some final touches. And we can give him a really quick background too, so he's not just floating. Oops. I'm gonna come back through. And then we'll do for the back. So we'll keep it real simple. And I'm just putting together a really quick, really simple background for him. That way he's not just floating. For when I go to post him. Something a little more appealing than just a plain red background, which has its own perks, but should we maybe flip? Yeah, maybe. Then if we take this, this, there we go. All right, y'all. I think that's gonna do it. I might tweak them a little bit before I go ahead and post them, but that is the stream. We're coming up on 8 o'clock. I do have to get going for the night. I super appreciate everybody that came to hang out and stopped in for a few minutes. If you're still here the whole way through, thank you, thank you, thank you. Look what we put together. I'll be posting him, maybe not tonight. It's a little bit late in the night to make a post, but I don't have anything scheduled for tomorrow, so he'll probably go up tomorrow if you'd like to go in and say what's up. I will probably do another one of these Wednesday. Either Wednesday or Thursday we'll do another. We might not have a full schedule this week, just as I kind of figure out what I want to do and the best way to go about it. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming to hang out. I'll see you again soon. If you enjoyed these, come back for when we do more in the future. Stay safe. Have a good one. Until next